On top of the economic focus, the president's visit is inherently political. Everyone from members of Congress to state lawmakers and local Buffalo elected officials will be maneuvering to get into the camera shot with Obama. Among those hoping to gain some political capital is Kirsten Gillibrand, who took credit for urging the president to visit the Western New York City. The junior senator continues to poll well below 50%, despite holding the seat for more than a year. Yet she has somehow been able to avoid a potentially dangerous primary. That's thanks to help from the White House and senior Senator Chuck Schumer. Now the last Democrat who was standing against Gillibrand has also decided to call it quits. Jonathan Tasini is a labor activist who challenged Gillibrand's predecessor, Hillary Clinton, for the U.S. Senate in 2006. He was challenging Senator Gillibrand on the Democratic Party line, and that is until today. He has changed his plans, and he joins us tonight from New York City. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Hey, Liz. Great to talk to you.
It's good to have you. So you're out as of today. You are no longer a U.S. Senate candidate.
That is correct.
Okay, well, before we get into what you are going to be running for, because you're not leaving the political stage entirely, let's talk about what motivated you to do this. What was it? I mean, you ran against Hillary Clinton. She was the former First Lady. She was huge. And now, you know, Kirsten Gillibrand's just appointed and she can't even break 40% in the polls. So what's the problem?
Well, it's certainly not about the opponent. I think that the opponent, Kirsten Gillibrand, is totally vulnerable. She does not deserve to be United States Senator. I think to this moment that she lacks any principles or guiding ideas on how to lead the state, not to mention be a voice in the country. She should be defeated. But the fact is, this comes down to the corrupt system that we operate in today. I can't raise the money. I'm not willing to go to Goldman Sachs. Kirsten Gillibrand is. I'm not willing to get money from corporations. She has $1.4 million from corporate PACs, and you could just go on and on. She's awash in money, and I can't raise it because I raise it mostly from regular people. And it's pretty clear that the times are tough. It's tough to raise money. Okay,
but you couldn't really. I actually covered your race in '06, and you really couldn't raise that much money then either.
Weren't you lucky then?
Well, it feels like a lifetime ago, actually. But you know,
it does, doesn't it?
It does. So at the time, I actually checked the FEC filing today. You've raised a little bit, somewhere in the $124,000 range, right? And you have $5,000 in debt, and you've got about $7,000 on hand. That's not nothing, but she's got $6 million on hand. So I understand the disparity, but by contrast, the same thing. You could not raise against Hillary Clinton. She was the favorite. She was about to, everybody knew, going to run for president in 2008. This was a preparation for that. So, you know, I mean, I guess this was no different in terms of financially speaking.
Yeah. So it's an excellent question, Liz. So when I ran in 2006, there was not a single day that I thought I would actually defeat Hillary Clinton, but I felt very powerfully that there had to be a debate about the Iraq War, which Hillary Clinton voted for and supported. And I felt that in this state, in the Democratic Party, we had to stand up to the immorality of that war and what it did to our country and our standing in the world. I did not think I would win, but I felt like I had to carry that flag and that banner to have that debate. I got on the ballot. As you may remember, I got 3 times the number of signatures needed to get on the ballot. Then Senator Clinton refused to debate me, but there was a discussion about the war. That was not about winning. This time I got into the race being very clear to my supporters that this was about winning the race because I was facing someone who'd never been elected, had no principles, and I believe did not deserve to be a United States Senator. But so then it became a practical reality of raising enough money to be heard in a statewide race. And I could not do that. And so for the sake of my supporters and frankly myself, I decided to get out of that race.
Okay, so one of the reasons that Gillibrand is sort of such a behemoth in terms of her power in preventing anybody from running, I mean, Harold Ford, who's a former congressman from Tennessee, he looked at the race, he took a pass. You have people like Steve Israel, a congressman who is from Long Island, a really prodigious fundraiser in his own right, took a pass. Carolyn Maloney, a congresswoman, McCarthy, a congresswoman, took a pass. Manhattan Borough President Scott Stringer. I mean, the list is quite long. You're in good company. Much of this is because the White House actually has come down to influence this race, and also Chuck Schumer. I mean, is that an appropriate thing for these people to do?
Well, anybody can do whatever they want in politics. I think that the bigger question to me is how sad it is for the Democratic Party which we live now in a totally dysfunctional political system where people are furious about the politics and the leadership of both parties, how sad it is for the Democratic Party to try to block a primary, and more important, for someone who, not to step forward, who could raise enough money, I frankly could not, and run against someone who does not deserve to be a United States Senator, is there only because, as you point out, Chuck Schumer wants somebody who he can control. She has no guiding vision. In fact, I do not believe tells the truth about her past positions and has altered every single position in order to be acceptable. She does not have core principles. I think that is entirely contradictory to the kind of political leaders we need now, but that is the sad state of the Democratic Party.
Okay, so, but what you've decided to do actually is not get off the stage entirely, but you've trained your sights on a different veteran politician. Kirsten Gillibrand was appointed by David Patterson. This person that you're trying to take out now has been there for decades, Congressman Charlie Rangel.
Yeah, this was not really my idea initially. Even though I've lived in the district for 23 years, I've walked every block or cycled every block. I'm an avid cyclist, as you may remember. A number of my supporters about 4 to 6 weeks ago approached me and said, you know, it is tough to raise money. You should be a United States Senator. You'd be better than the current person. But the truth is, we could win this race and you could have the same platform to project the vision that I believe this country and the state needs, and build a movement from a House seat, and a House seat that, as important, is the second most Democratic district in the country. You could say anything on behalf of the people in this district. So I thought very long and hard about that, and at the end of the day I decided to get into the race, and I believe I can win the race. And it's the beauty about this race is I've been a union organizer and a community organizer for a very long time, and I can walk every single block. It's the smallest congressional district by geography in the country. It's 10 square miles. Okay. So I'm really excited about this race.
Okay, but Charlie Rangel, now Charlie Rangel's had some problems. Charlie Rangel remains under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. He was admonished by the House Ethics Committee. He has spent an inordinate amount of he's a prodigious fundraiser, but he's using a lot of his fundraising dollars on attorneys to defend himself, actually. He's had issues with his taxes, most notably. He's had issues with trips that he's taken, etc. However, he had to give up his Ways and Means position, chairmanship, the most powerful chairmanship committee that's in the House, because of this House Ethics Committee report. However, he's not no one. He's Charlie Rangel. He's the veteran sort of dean of the New York congressional delegation. There is another guy, Assemblyman Adam Clayton Powell, who Charlie Rangel toppled his father out of this seat. He's running now. There's another guy, Vince Morgan, is running. What makes you think you're going to be able to win this race? That appears to me to be a four-way Democratic primary.
And there may be other people into that race. So let me say a few things. The first is, we have to acknowledge, and I will in this race, what Charlie Rangel has done for the district and for the country. And, for example, he has been an opponent of the war, and I salute him for that. But he is awash in ethical problems. If Charlie Rangel is on the ballot in November, he will cost the Democratic Party seats around the country, because the Republican Party will use Charlie Rangel, among others, as a symbol of the corruption of Washington. That, I think, is just a fact. And he cannot get around that. Those are serious ethical problems. The second thing, though, and this is where I believe I can win this race, it's really the vision that I've promoted both in the Senate race and throughout my whole adult lifetime. I believe that the fundamental challenge for every member of this 15th congressional district, black, brown, white, whatever age, is the robbery that has happened to every single American and every person in that district through an economic system that is taken from the regular people and given it to the rich. We have the richest divide between rich and poor that we've had in 100 years. 1 in 4 children are on food stamps. I believe that that message will connect to voters throughout the district, and I believe because of that I will win.
Well, it's a very liberal message, and certainly we know that liberal voters in a primary trend towards the more liberal side of the spectrum. But it is going to be a very interesting race, and I really thank you for coming in and sharing this with us, because it's new. It just broke today, and thanks very much for being here to talk about it. Thanks, Jonathan Tasini.
Always a pleasure.